Let's speak to GCC analyst Dr.Andreas Krieg, who joins us now from Berlin. Good to have you with us. It does seem extraordinary that a journalist could have been killed inside his own consulate on foreign soil, but that is increasingly the view that seems to be taken. What's your position?
Well, it's all very mysterious. Nobody really has conclusive evidence, and I'm quite skeptical that we will ever have conclusive evidence, because whatever happened to Jamal Khashoggi kind of happened within or behind closed doors in the consulate, and I don't think there are any videotapes of that. I think what Turkish authorities have so far is CCTV about, these 15 individuals arriving in Istanbul, coming to the consulate, and leaving the consulate with bags. Nobody knows exactly what's in there. I find it hard to believe that CCTV will tell us what is in these bags and whether this is actually, as alleged, the dismembered body of Jamal Khashoggi. So I find it, it's very mysterious, but it's now really for the Turkish investigation to really make a point, make sure that they have substantial evidence, and then make a statement that nobody can deny.
But why would Saudi Arabia take the huge risk of doing something like this, which will cause them, international condemnation, just to get rid of a troublesome journalist?
Yes, I mean, Jamal was more than just a troublesome journalist. I mean, he was very much part of the establishment for a very long time. He's not one of the fiercest attackers or challengers of Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, but he's one of the loudest, and he's someone who had a huge audience in the West. And I think it's a very clear thing here. Mohammed bin Salman is testing his boundaries. He has made a range of very different repressive moves against various challenges of his power within the country. It might be the religious establishment, economic establishment, people within the tribes, within the family. And most importantly, he has to make a move again against dissidents and opposition figures as well. And Jamal is someone who represents that community, and with a very harsh, extraordinarily harsh measure, whether it's a disappearance or, as it might turn out as actually an assassination, that will send a very loud message to the world of saying, we will take any step necessary to silence you. And I think it has worked already. A lot of people are fearsome now to actually speak out. And the interesting thing is, this is a gray area. So while the Saudis will always have a degree of deniability, they can say, look, he's not in our consulate, he entered, but nobody can prove that he has left or hasn't left. Plus, it's still this ambiguity about it is something that the Saudis will use as a clear message towards any form of opposition and dissidents around the world and in their own country, of saying, if you do speak out, this is what could happen to you.
The Turkish investigation continues, as you know. How is this going to affect relations between Ankara and Riyadh? Because they're already strained over Ankara's support for Qatar.
Absolutely. And I think this is one of the reasons that Mohammed bin Salman or the Saudis have actually chosen Turkey, because already relationships are under strain. If that had happened in a Western country, because Jamal was mostly, traveling between Europe and the United States, it would have been a lot more difficult to actually do it overseas in the West. And I think, considering that relations with Turkey are already quite, on a very low key at the moment, I think that, the speculation was that it probably couldn't get any worse. But, I was quite surprised yesterday seeing President Erdogan actually not directly calling out Saudi Arabia and saying, there is an investigation going on and we'll make sure that the evidence will come to the surface. I think the Turkish authorities are very careful now to construct a very detailed evidence-based investigation to actually show what has happened before going and jumping to conclusions if there is no evidence. And I think this is, we'll have to wait and see. Once there is evidence, and once there is evidence that Saudi Arabia will have was involved in it as a country to either make him disappear or kill him, I think Turkey will take the next step, which would be definitely a further severing of ties and probably the removal of the ambassador. And then it's actually up to the international community to make a statement. It's not up to Turkey. I think this is something that concerns the international community at large. Anybody who does any dealings with Saudi Arabia needs to really question whether a country that assassinates its own citizens on foreign soil is a country that you want to do business with.
Andreas, thank you very much indeed for that. Dr. Andreas Krieg in Berlin there.